Hiya guys, really glad you could join me for Rolling in Dough, the second part of my mini series on bread and bread products that you can make yourself. I've popped a link in here to bread part 1 so you can catch up if you want to with that. Right, so let's make a dough. It's much more fun than Play-Doh and much nicer to eat. By machine you need to follow your manufacturer's instructions, and by hand you need a good recipe that you can trust. As you can see from the video, here's me putting my dough on to make, and it takes me just under 2 minutes from start to finish to put this dough on, and then it's a case of leave it for 2 hours 20, come back and your dough's all done for you, ready to bake for the fun bit. I heavily flour my worktop and then I get the dough out, and you can see what a lovely sort of sticky nice dough it is, and as you move it you can see that it's so flexible. That's ideally what you're looking for. This entire batch of dough cost me around 50p, or that's around 63 cents US. So now let's see what we can make for that. Start by cutting off pieces of the dough at roughly the size that you think you're going to need for what you've decided to make. You don't have to be too precise at this stage, so don't go worrying about exact amounts. Any precision can come later down the line, and there's always a use for any little bits that you've got left over. I'm going to make a mind-boggling array of things out of this dough, and some of them I've never made myself before, so you'll be learning with me. But the first item has to be a pizza. It just has to, doesn't it? So here we go. Roll it out into roughly a pizza shape. It's a soft dough, so as you move it, it's going to move about, and all you do is you adjust it once you get it on the pizza tray. Once you're happy with your pizza base, it's time to pop it somewhere warm to rise for around an hour. And we can talk a little bit more about that process in a short while. But just to think, how much does a pizza base cost in a shop, ready made like that? This one cost us about 10 pence, or about 12 cents I think it works out at. This next item is new to me, but I saw them and I thought these would go down really well on Halloween or on Guy Fawkes night here in the UK, so I wanted to give them a go. And basically they are sausage and cheese pinwheels, and when they're cooked the cheese sort of leaks out a little bit at the bottom and goes all toasted like toasted cheese, and they're absolutely delicious. So I've rolled out the dough to roughly a shape that I can actually then roll up into sort of a Swiss roll, and I've laid out the sausage meat on top and roughly made it to the same size but leaving a little space around the edge, and then I'm topping that with the grated cheese. This is vegan cheese, it's dairy free, but you can use any cheese. I've prepared a greased baking sheet for these to go on, and I'm just gently rolling it up, starting at the bottom, working to the top. This helps you keep all the filling inside and keeps a neat roll. Once you've got it rolled, you want to tuck the edges in nice and tight and press down and make sure it's sort of a little bit sealed, just so that you don't lose anything in the next process, which is to take a sharp knife and to cut these into pinwheels about 2 centimetres, maybe 2.5 centimetres deep. Just pop these straight onto the baking sheet as you do them, and you could always adjust them to any depth you find you like, as long as they're even, so that they cook evenly. But I did find these were a good depth, but I think for younger children I may be tempted to make them a little thinner. We got 8 good sized pinwheels out of that piece of dough, and remember these are going to go for rising now and be even bigger when they're done. I think they look great. Next, take a good sized piece of dough and we're going to make cinnabons. And again, I'm looking to achieve a piece of dough that's very thin and is going to be able to be rolled up and make a sort of a Swiss roll again that we can chop into pinwheels like we did for the sausage and cheese pinwheels. So once I've rolled it out to a good length, I'm neatening the edges by just chopping off any trim, and that trim won't go to waste, it'll be used further on. So the next thing I need to do is just add a little bit of sugar to sweeten this dough up now. I'm just using everyday white granulated sugar here, but you could use any sugar you wanted or any sugar you've got available. I think this is probably only an ounce and a half of sugar in total. And you just want to spread it evenly across the dough and just see if you can sort of get it to adhere to the dough a little bit at this stage. And then it's time to spread some cinnamon over the surface too. And just ground cinnamon's absolutely fine for this task. You just have to decide how cinnamony you like your cinnabons and adjust the amount you put on it accordingly at this stage. So next it's time to add the lovely dried fruit. I've added sultanas here. And again, you can adjust the amount of dried fruit that you add according to your own taste at this stage. You do want to spread them out evenly, and I tend to use the flat of my hands to just sort of push them into place a little bit on the dough, and this simply helps you when you're rolling them up. They do stay in place a little better by doing this. So then, having rolled them up, it's time to do as we did with the sausage and cheese pinwheels. You need a greased baking tray or a non-greased silicone baking sheet that I'm using here. You want to gently cut them into the same sort of depth pinwheels as we did with the sausage and cheese ones, about 2.5 centimetres, and place them carefully into the baking sheet, because remember this is a lovely soft fresh dough that you're working with, so just that little bit of extra care gives you a neater result. And we've ended up with 6 pinwheels out of that piece of dough, and now it's time to put them to rise just as we did with the other items we've made. I've got high hopes for these. They look great already, don't they? So why do we cover everything up while it's rising? Well, the simple answer to that is that it's because it would dry out otherwise, and then when it bakes you get like a cracked sort of a crust look on it, and it does spoil the item. So you can use a damp tea towel, greased cling film, but I've gone for the foil. Why? Because it's easy to cut, easy to grease, it's easy to form around any shaped tray. And then when it's being used for that purpose, you just fold it up and keep it in the back of your fridge door for the next time you need it. I think this is more environmentally friendly and also budget friendly. So each item just gets covered over like that with the greased foil, and then it rises in a nice warm environment where it's not drying out. So that's why we do that. All those little bits of trimmings that we got when we cut off the edges from the sausage pinwheels and the cinnabons, they're about to become 4 lovely flatbreads, and all I need is a heavy bottomed dry pan and roll them out. It doesn't actually matter what shape you roll them out into, but rough circles seems to be popular. And then you put them on a high heat and you just literally cook them on both sides, and they will bubble, and then they'll get lovely little dark bits on them, and they're delicious. But as you can see, they're soft and pliable, and you can fold them and roll them, and they're a great size. This size, I used to make them a lot bigger, but I found this is the best size, just right for a snack or a sandwich or in a lunchbox. Each one takes less than a minute on each side to cook. So with the last piece of the dough, I decided to make a couple of mini pizzas. They can be very useful and they're very easy to freeze. I rolled out the remaining piece of dough and cut it into 4 quarters. Two of them I rolled into little circles and put them on a greased baking tray to rise for mini pizzas. The other two I rolled out into just an elongated shape, and these are going to be garlic naan breads. In a little cup I've put some garlic salt, some Italian herbs and some good olive oil. I'm going to mix this up, and then that will become what I spread on the hot garlic breads. Whilst these are cooking in exactly the same manner in the same pan as the flatbreads did, I'm preparing some of the toppings for the pizza, which is just about fully risen now. And I'm starting with this chilli. I've used the end bit, but then when I got to where the seeds are, I just decided for the amount I needed I would slice down the side and then just fine dice this to spread over the pizza. I want a chilli kick, I don't want it to be overly spicy and take away from the other flavours on the pizza. Once the chilli is finely diced, I pop it to one side of the board, and then I'm looking to thinly slice an onion. I want the slithers to stay intact, I want them fully cooked, and I don't want them to overpower any portion of the pizza. Next I wanted to use up this green pepper. It had just started to go a bit off on the stalk, but absolutely nothing wrong with the pepper. So I thought this is a good use of it. So I finally sliced just a section so that I could have enough of small pieces of pepper to give me an even spread across a large pizza. Next I took a tomato and very thinly sliced this tomato. I wanted it wafer thin, with enough slices for easy coverage over a giant pizza and perhaps a couple of slices left for the mini pizza. So I've broken off from preparing toppings because the garlic breads are now piping hot and out of the pan. And though you might say these are not technically a naan bread because I haven't used milk etc in the mix of them, to be honest, when you taste these you wouldn't care. They're hot from the pan and the lovely herby oil sinks into the surface, and they're absolutely delicious. And they stay soft enough that they tear really well and make a great starter or a side to any sort of Italian food. And they are really nice to eat cold like this, and they make a great snack. But if you want to reheat them, only a few seconds in the microwave and it's as though you've just baked them. Next is onto the tomato base for the pizza. And the remaining bits of the garlic herby oil, I've added some lovely cherry tomato with herbs tomato concentrate. If you use a tomato puree, then you need to really add a little bit of water and microwave it for about a minute if you can, because it needs cooking out or it'll be bitter in the end product. So I've added some more herbs and the tomato, and I've mixed it up and then added just a little bit of water to loosen the consistency. And then I've cooked this out for about a minute, as explained before, and the reasons why. Right, let's unveil our pizza base and see if we've got any rise on it. Oh, indeed we have. So, not exactly even, it seems to have risen a little bit more at certain parts than others, but overall it's a lovely pizza base, I'm sure you'll agree. So now's the stage at which you will apply your toppings, starting obviously with the tomato base that we just made. Now that we've spread that nice and evenly and not gone quite to the very edge, it's time to add the other bits of topping. The chilli and the onion and the pepper and the tomato you already know about, but when I went to the fridge for something else, I noticed I had a few olives in a jar that were looking sorry for themselves, and also a little piece of chorizo left, so I decided to dice that up and add it last minute. Of course you could just leave off the chorizo on this pizza and keep it vegetarian. I only added it simply because it was there and needed using up. Though I do think it gives it a lovely texture, aroma, colour and flavour, so well worth adding. I'm going to add 2 cheeses to this, and the first one is this vegan shredded mozzarella style, which is great for pizzas and pasta and dishes where you want the cheese to melt on top. And the other bits that I haven't yet put on top of the pizza, I want them to lie on top of the cheese, which is why they're waiting there on the cutting board. The next cheese I'm adding is vegan cheddar style, and this you get 2 different colours and you get 2 different flavours, and it looks really attractive, I think. So if I have both cheeses available, I do tend to use them. But again, you could use any cheese you want or no cheese at all. There's that many flavours on this pizza that you don't have to have any cheese. It can be a standalone item without it. But on this occasion I did want the melted cheese on it. Well, that's our pizza ready for the oven. And I'm sure you'll agree it looks quite a substantive pizza and just as good, if not better, than those you see in the deli. So the last bit of the tomato base I'm spreading on the 2 mini pizzas that we prepared earlier. And I'm going to keep the toppings on these simple. And I do this because I don't want very much that's moist on the top in case they're used in lunch boxes. These pizzas are likely to be popular with children, and as we all know, some children can be very fussy as to what they will and won't have on their pizza. But this is a great opportunity to let them choose and make up their own. But today I just decided to do the base tomato sauce, 2 cheeses and a slice of tomato. So that's them ready for the oven now too. I must admit the oven was very busy fitting all these things in, so they had to go in rotation. Now it's time to remove the foil from our cinnabons and our sausage pinwheels and see if they've risen, which I think you'll agree they have, and they're looking really rather nice. And they're now ready to go in the oven. And while they're cooking, I'm mixing up a simple icing. Now you can add cream cheese to this with some powdered or icing sugar and some cinnamon, but I've not added the cream cheese today. That's simply because we prefer it without, and obviously my son's going to be eating these when I've finished making them. So, but you can do that, and you just stir some cream cheese into this mix, and then you just spread it lightly across the top of the cinnabons, and then they take on that lovely white sort of sticky icing and that lovely scent coming off them from the cinnamon, and then they need a little while for that to set, and then they're ready to eat. It's all coming together thick and fast now, and here we have the sausage and cheese pinwheels, and I think they look amazing. So that's everything cooked and out of the oven now. But I just cooked a couple of these chicken breast fillet strips because I wanted to give you this bonus idea of how to use those flatbreads that we made earlier. And all I've done is I've put the hot chicken strips in, and I'm adding some bits of salad that I already keep prepared, along with a bit of grated cheese and a line of mayo. And you'll see that from one flat piece of bread comes this really attractive, colourful snack, light lunch, and it's hot and smells of the chicken and it's delicious. Everything was dairy free that we made today, and just a quick reminder that that dough made all those items and cost only 50p, or around 63 cents. So I'd like to thank you for joining me today, and if you've managed to get through this mammoth video, I really hope that you found things that you were inspired to make and that you enjoy lovely food like this. Thanks for watching.